On the edge of a forgotten island stands the gray stone lighthouse. Inside lives Elias, a 72-year-old keeper who fires up the lantern every single night, shining a massive beam into a completely empty, pitch-black ocean. This chart maps out the scale of his effort, a continuous 30-year unbroken line of nightly lighting events, juxtaposed against maritime traffic of absolute zero. Economically, this operation is useless. 10,000 nights of intense labor for a return of 0 ships. It begs a simple question: why continue to operate an obsolete system at maximum capacity when it produces no measurable results? The physical toll of the routine is immense. Every single evening at sunset, Elias climbs 147 worn stone steps to manually ignite the giant lantern. The local villagers look at this through a lens of pure pragmatism. They know no ships sail these waters anymore, so they simply laugh at the lonely old keeper and walk away. Elias operates on a different metric. When questioned, he calmly explains that hope doesn't stop shining just because no one is watching. For Elias, the lantern isn't about clearing a path for trade. It's a personal ritual that functions outside the villagers' understanding of utility. The reason for this persistence lies in a single day decades ago, when Elias's son Daniel sailed away from the island to explore the world. Soon after his departure, a catastrophic storm hit the region. Daniel's ship disappeared without a single trace. The community reviewed the available facts and reached a logical consensus. Daniel had died in the wreck. Elias, however, flatly refused to accept that conclusion. While the village saw a man obsessed with ghosts, Elias was maintaining a targeted signal. Every night of labor was a specific attempt to reach one missing person. The commitment held steady against extreme duration. He maintained the light through rain, through freezing snow, and compounding isolation across changing seasons. But human hardware naturally degrades over time. 3 decades of this grueling routine created immense physical friction, leaving Elias with a weathered body and trembling hands. Meanwhile, the village's mild confusion hardened into a strict diagnosis. They concluded the old man was quite literally waiting for a ghost. When a person stretches a belief over 30 years without a single empirical data point to validate it, their actions become indistinguishable from madness to anyone watching from the outside. Then came the ultimate environmental stressor. One winter evening, a massive cyclone surrounded the island, forcing the village into a total lockdown. The mayor pleaded with Elias to abandon his post, but Elias applied his own counter-logic. Maximum environmental danger meant the beacon reached its peak necessity. Someone out there might need the light. He began the climb, but the ancient infrastructure finally buckled. Halfway up, the wooden stairs cracked. The lantern room shook violently, and glass shattered inward. Out of options, Elias deployed his final failsafe. He used his own fragile body to physically shield the flame from the screaming winds. Far offshore, out in the pitch darkness, an unexpected boat was violently pitching in the massive swells, its modern navigation and radio completely dead. In extreme stress tests, when all modern electronics fail, an obsolete analog system suddenly becomes the only thing preventing a catastrophe. A crew member spotted the tiny beam piercing the darkness. Hour after hour, they followed that narrow line of light until the exhausted boat safely reached the harbor, a sheltered place to anchor and ride out the storm. Among the rescued passengers stepping onto the dock was an elderly sailor clutching a faded leather journal. When Elias saw the book, his heart nearly stopped. The physical evidence instantly shattered the village's 30-year consensus. The journal belonged to Daniel. This flowchart maps out the sequence of events based on the sailor's testimony. Daniel survived his initial wreck, rescued this sailor, and transferred the journal to him before the two were permanently separated. The sailor then delivered a final message Daniel had given him decades ago. "If you ever reach Greystone, tell my father I never stopped looking for his light." Elias's routine never managed to save his son, but the continuous beam functioned as an intergenerational anchor, preserving his legacy and pulling a complete stranger to safety 30 years later. The villagers stood in the morning light, looking at the faded leather in that stranger's hands. They had spent 30 years laughing at a useless light, only to realize it was the one thing that had brought a piece of Daniel home. Without a word, the mockery stopped. The comedian began to gather at the base of the tower, bringing stones and tools to repair the damage from the storm. Above the restored entrance, they carved a new operating principle: a light kept alive by faith. An act of dedication shouldn't be abandoned simply because its immediate utility is invisible to the people around you. Sometimes its purpose is simply traveling on a much longer timeline.